Greetings, everybody. Nino the Mystic here, and welcome to another Let's Talk. Tonight, we're going to be talking about time travel. A little bit different from last time when we talked about time travel, when we had Augie Nostan. A little bit different, but sort of the same thing. Tonight, we're going to be bringing up the connection between Tesla's work and Trump, and especially with his Uncle John. And the announcement that they just had on, I don't want to say TV, but I guess on the internet, where the guy announced that they can manipulate time and space. So this is very, very exciting. This is disclosure right here, guys, that I think went under the radar a little bit from what I can see. I don't see enough hype about it because this is extremely exciting for everyone, I would say, So anyways, how you doing tonight, Robert?
Doing great with all this new information coming out from the White House, and they're literally spewing it out, but you got to be able to read through the lines and pick out the words that count. And that's what we're doing here tonight, is we're going to be reading those lines and figuring out exactly what they're meaning.
Well, I know we've had
cracked the code, right?
Yeah, we've had this question. I know we've talked about this before. It seems like Trump is able to time travel. There's a lot of different things that some of it we're gonna bring up tonight. Some evidence, I guess, if you will. And we've always wondered, even with the Simpsons episodes, how down to the paper falling, that they're able to predict, like, are they able to time travel? I know we've talked about this before and wondered about it. Well, this is kind of giving us some evidence as to, it might be something real here. We might be onto something here. So, so welcome, everybody. Come on in, get comfortable. Make sure that you are liking the video and sharing it out. Okay, so that we can get this information out there a little bit further. I'm sure that if you're into this, your friends are as well. And so share it out far and wide in all your groups and group chats and whatever else you got going on, because this is going to be mind-blowing, honestly. So without further ado, we might as well get into it. Now, I guess the first thing we should just show you, for those of you who have been under a rock and you haven't seen the announcement, so let's see if I can find it here. Hopefully you can see that. If I can find all my windows, that's always the thing. I was at the yeah, this is it here. So I don't know why it shows this one here, but the White House advisor Michael Kratzios, or whatever his name is, goes viral with sci-fi-like claims that the U.S. can manipulate time and space. Internet goes on a frenzy. Users question him. So this is the guy here that came out, during some speech. I don't know if it was a White House speech or what it was. I guess he's the science advisor, so I guess so. It would have been, I didn't see it personally, but, I heard about it later, obviously, right? Saying that they can manipulate time and space. So this is basically disclosure that time travel is a real thing. Now, I do have links to most of the stuff that we're about to see, including this here. So if you want to go and read this for yourself, I do have all the links down in the description of the video, okay? So you can read the whole thing. I'm not going to sit here and read that whole thing, but it's just kind of some receipts as to, yes, this guy, for real, he does work in the White House, and he did come out and say this. Most of you have probably heard this before, but yeah, I just wanted to show you that quickly here before we dive into the rest of the stuff. Oh, it looks like so I'm going to get rid of that for a second. Whoops. Oh, what's going on here? All right. There you are. Oh, did you go out for a second? Is that what happened? You okay, I didn't even realize that until
I don't know what. Yeah, everything disappeared for a second. I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, but Wi-Fi connection. That was it.
Wi-Fi's a little wonky. Oh well, bear with us, guys. You know how it goes. with the internet around here.
Yeah.
But that was basically an article, about that Michael guy from the White House announcing that they can manipulate time and space. Now, and of
Did,
course, I don't know if you
did,
followed us, you've probably heard of us
did
talking
you
about stuff.
did you when he was talking about that, did you also hear what he said after that?
I didn't see the thing, to be honest with you. I don't watch all the
Okay.
White House.
Well, he was saying we can manipulate time and space, and then he says we've been holding off on technology that could further advance us. Basically saying, if you listen to the whole thing, I'll sum it up real quick. Basically, we've been stifling inventions. We've been holding back, and now that Trump is in, basically, we're going to let the floodgates loose. Meaning, and this time and space thing really, according to some people, means that it's talking about manipulating gravity, flying spaceships, things like that. The guy with the best aircraft wins, really.
Absolutely. And this is something that I've always wondered too. It's like, why are we still flying in the same tin cans that my grandparents were flying over here with? Why is it that, we're not more closer to the Jetsons, really? Because that was the cartoon back in our childhood that were basically telling us what our future was going to look like. Well, none of that has come to pass, other than maybe the robots sort of seem to be, even more in the press lately, I guess. But other than that, we haven't advanced at all, so they clearly have held back, technology. And this is also the reason why I think that we haven't gotten any new planes and whatever, is because they know that the new stuff is coming out. They're not gonna invest money in fixing up this and fixing up that, or the old system, because that's going to be gone soon. And so this is why I think, why they're holding it.
You should quote that and put it on a shirt, because you've said that in multiple shows, and you know what? You're right. You are right. That is so true.
There you go.
I mean, you've said this multiple times, and you're right, spot on there.
Yeah, and this is why it's so scary too, because the planes are literally falling out of the sky nowadays. There's like one after another, and it's not safe. They're not safe, essentially, the planes that we have, So I can't wait for all this new stuff to come, come out. And this is the beginning of it, guys. Like, we don't have to wonder anymore now. This is the beginning of the new stuff. So this is super, super exciting. But the twist that I wanted to take today was to see the connection between Donald Trump's uncle and Tesla. So I don't know. Did you want to go into something before I even show them about what Uncle Trump was up to, or Uncle John, I guess his name was?
Yeah. So if we think about Tesla, what's the point of this whole thing if you don't know why John Trump is connected to Tesla, meaning Trump is connected to Tesla? You get what I'm saying? Because there's a new Tesla guy, meaning Elon Musk, and then there's the old Tesla guy with the John Trump.
Right.
John Trump.
So actually, in the article that I'm going to show, they do tell you why they had John come in. And then I have a question to that as well. So I don't know, maybe I should just show that first, and then you can show your stuff later or after.
It all basically started with this guy here, and I'm gonna wait a minute, share. Okay, hang on a second. This is when it all started, I believe. Oh, where'd it go? Hang on, just a second. Man, I put the thing up.
Do you want me to do my thing first, then we'll get back to yours after?
No, we got it. It all started with this guy and his thing, and I got a little bit about it, and it's really interesting. And this is when it started. This is what was the most important event in history, right here with time travel.
It's very famous.
Tesla.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
this is very famous. He was struck by was it 3 million volts? I don't know, it was 3.2 million volts. He was struck in the right shoulder. And at that point in time, he saw himself in the past, the present, and the future. And at that moment, he knew that there was a possibility of time travel. And that's what started the whole fascination with him with time travel, was that moment in time. Now, he could have been killed, but his assistant shut off the machine before he died. And therefore, he started studying time travel. Now, the rumor is he never made a time machine, or did he? Did he write, because he made hundreds and thousands of patents and diagrams and for motors and airplanes and you name it, he was making it. Now we lead up to John Trump coming, and there you go. That's my bit with the Tesla. That led up to when Trump or Tesla dies.
Let's see. Oh, here it is. All right. So for those who don't know, so on January 9th, 1943, 2 days after Nikola Tesla died, destitute, in a New York City hotel, the FBI called MIT professor and esteemed electrical engineer John J. Trump, to determine if any of the belongings in the investor's estate, which included a purported weapon of mass destruction, Tesla called the death ray, would be dangerous if it fell into enemy hands. Now, when I saw death ray, immediately I thought of, Maui fires, LA fires, right? This ray that comes down and just destroys everything, right? I immediately thought of that. I wonder now if it was Tesla that actually invented that. That could be used for something, maybe good, but, in the wrong hands, obviously it hasn't. And that's unfortunately what's been happening to a lot of these things. So, so they had Uncle John, basically. So this is John G. Trump is Donald Trump's uncle. Okay, you guys can go look this up yourself if you want to. And so he was called in to go and grab all these things. So after a 3-day investigation, Trump, in fact, the late uncle of Donald J. Trump, determined that there was no risk. It turned out Tesla never actually made his death ray. So they say now, right? But I'm wondering if that's not it there. I don't know what they call it nowadays, but that's what came to my mind anyways. Still, the mystery and exaggerated claims along the soaring success and failure associated with Tesla, an eccentric Serbian-American polymath futurist, continue to be played out today on a scale that only he could have imagined. Anyways, I'm not going to read all of this here, but we just wanted to bring out the fact that, Donald's uncle.
Okay, so what here is important is, now I dug into this a little further because there's got to be more to John G. Trump than just he was the first guy. He went in there, but here's the thing. John Trump was the first guy who went in there all by himself. And he was that professor of electrical engineering. He was there to survey the papers, and then after he left, the FBI came in, boxed up 70 trunks of papers and things that he had, and literally, took everything that was in there. They took. But John was the first one in there. Now, here's my thoughts on this. This is my opinion only. What if John Trump went in there and took the folder for Time Machine?
Well, as far as I was concerned, he took everything with him. And, he went through it.
No, the FBI took it all.
Okay, well, they called
He
on
went through it
Uncle
all
John there
before.
to determine whether or not
Yes.
what was what, what was dangerous and what wasn't, or whatever. I don't know exactly what the true story there was, but I guess at the time
Well,
he
well,
was an acclaimed, professor. He's electrical engineer. He was the guy at the time, I guess, right? And he's also
well,
part of the group,
that's
you know.
but
So
that's the thing is if you're going in there and I got all this stuff. I'm a scientist, right? And I got all this stuff, and you get who are you going to have look at it? If you went there and looked at all the scientist stuff, you wouldn't understand anything it says. So you send in a
yeah, so you need a
professor to
science
see
guy
if
to do
anything's worth anything.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, you need a science guy. Not Bill Nye, the science guy either. You need a real science guy. He's going to go in there, look at everything. He might move stuff around, say, okay, this has got to go, this has got to go. He might put some labels on it because the guy's picking it up. Most people would have no clue how to work any of that stuff. Zero. Big, fat zero. And
And it
so,
makes
but
you
who's to say?
It makes you wonder,
Yeah.
what did
Who's to
he
say?
pocket it before he gave it over to
That's
the
what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly. So who knows?
Because when
This
he's
guy may
into it,
not even know.
you know he can't. You know he ain't gonna. The thing is he can't build a death ray because everybody would know. But if he
Well,
took
I think
time
they do.
machine
I think they do.
and
They've
said,
been using
"Hey,"
it on us for quite a while now.
well, exactly, and he had the know-how and the engineering to maybe build such a thing.
Yeah.
You see where I'm going with this? Whereas
Yeah.
if he would have took a death ray, what's he going to do with it? What? But if he took the time machine, now you're talking about something really important. And it would be, you could do it in your garage, whereas, and then you could use it yourself, or you could get a group of guys, and who knows what secret society he was in? Was he in with the Masons? Was he in with some? I don't know, but there's a story right there.
I'm
I
pretty
know
sure he was in, he's in with the club. He's in the club. You know what I mean? That's why Trump is where he's at now.
Yeah.
And this, I think, is part of why he's so cocky, that guy. Because he has information. He has a reason to be cocky. You know what I mean? There's a reason for that. These people know things. Yeah. So
he already knows.
Putting the pieces together here, people, now that they're coming out basically disclosing that they do have the technology, one has to wonder whether or not, Uncle John here took that time travel information from the vault there, the Tesla's vault, and maybe didn't even tell the FBI about it. Who knows? Or maybe he did, or maybe, who knows exactly what went down. But I'm pretty sure Uncle John was in the know, okay, with a lot of scientific things that then I'm sure he passed down to his nephew and his, you know what I mean, and other people in the in crowd, the club that we're not part of. So very interesting. Now, did you have something else that you wanted to show before I got a couple of videos here that I want to get into. We're going to get into some nerdy stuff, and then we're going to get into some funny stuff. So yeah.
All right. Hang on. See if I got something here. Well, we're going to go with this here. Now, once Tesla, here, I got to share. We're going to go with this one here. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
There we go. So we know that when Tesla was struck, he could see, and he discovered the magnificence of the 3, 6, and 9, and then you would have the key to the universe. What does all this mean? Next. 3, 6, 9.
3, 6, 9. And then you have
and if
you have the things that what the universe is built on.
Yes, I mean that's the key to the universe. I don't know why, but 3, 6, 9.
You have the names of it. So it's very simple. I mean, it's stuff that I talk about all the time: energy, frequency.
Yes, that's what he based everything on.
That's what saying. This is what I've been saying. Okay, this is Yeah. So,
Yeah, it
that's
was
why he
energy
got
and
shut down.
frequency, and yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Nobody wanted to work with them. I mean, this was supposedly a diagram for a time machine. I don't know. I can't read it, but it looked
Yeah, we
pretty
can't see it.
interesting. Who knows if it's
Hey,
real or
does
not?
this not
Um,
look like the CERN, the Big Hydrogen Collider type of thing? Because that's exactly what that is doing as
oh,
well. That looks like the
oh,
CERN to
yeah.
me. I
There you
wouldn't be
go.
surprised that he was the inventor of that as well. They've taken all his stuff, all the stuff that we think is all
Yes.
new. That's Tesla came up with that stuff long time ago.
Yes.
And so,
Yes.
and
He
that's what
came.
that is hydrogen collider is colliding particles. And, we're going to get into a little bit of the nerdy stuff on time travel here that's relevant to today and some things we just seen in the skies not long ago. That might, and I even understand
Well,
it. So if I can understand this, I'm sure
yes.
you will as well. So yeah, this
Well,
guy,
I'm just,
anyways,
and you're right. I didn't look at it as the hydrogen collider, but you're right. That kind of does in a way. I mean,
yeah,
but here's the fascinating part. He was designing all this stuff in the early or late 1800s, early 1900s when he did all of these things. Then you got Einstein, who kind of poo-pooed on everything
yeah.
because he
Well,
says,
this is
"Oh, you
where
can't
the
go faster
lie
than the speed of
too.
light."
Yes. Most of our history has been a
Yeah,
lie.
Einstein.
Okay, with Einstein, Freud, a lot of these guys that are in our history books today are all frauds. I'm not
Well,
saying all of
at
it,
the
but a
point
lot
in
of it
time,
is. Okay, they were bought and paid to
well,
gaslight Tesla. Okay, to gaslight his inventions and to come up with this other cock poo poo that we got going on today.
yeah. Well,
So
I think at the point in time when Einstein was around, that was about the best technology they have. And he says you can't go faster than the speed of light. And then he says, well, if you go as fast as the speed of light, you'd weigh two tons, so you couldn't really go. You'd squish yourself. Blah blah blah. He came up with all these reasons why you couldn't until in the 60s, 70s, or I think it was in the 80s or 90s. They came up with this thing with the neutrinos, and the neutrinos go faster than the speed of light, so it shoots Einstein's theory all to pieces.
yes,
So anyway,
yeah, we've been lied to in so
here
many
you can see
different ways. Yeah. So this is why it's
this is
coming
how
around.
history goes. You got Isaac Newton, who was really smart. He says time is absolute, right? Well, then as time goes along, you got Einstein, who says time is relative. Well, then you got this guy, Karl Marx, and he says time was invented by clock companies to sell more clocks, which is kind of what you're saying, which I think you're right. I mean, there is no such thing as time. We invent it.
No, there isn't. But in this realm that we're in right now, we are ruled by time. Everything is, time. This is how we've enslaved here. Because we're on the time all the time. We got to get to work on time. We got to go to sleep because we got to have so many time of sleep. Everything is just time here. And this is how we're enslaved. And this is part of getting out of that. Once you realize there is no time. And so I'm going to show you some of the nerdier stuff here because it does explain a lot, and it actually explains. So if you want to get into the occult, okay, you want to get into magic, we're talking portals here, and this will explain how portals are made. Okay, and after meditating on this subject here, I've come to realize that that's what was inside my room when I was a kid, was an old portal. But that's one other thing. Yeah, so there's portals everywhere. Some of them are active, some of them are not.
Like this.
Yes, they do.
Even Einstein described how he could have a portal. I mean, he wasn't stupid, but he described it, but he just said you can't really do that. Which and of course, here's the thing.
That's exactly what's happening here is that you spin. You got to see the thing. I got to show the thing before we get into any more.
Yes.
Because otherwise, you guys won't know what I'm talking about. So let's show the nerdy video. Let's see nerdier video. Let's see if I can. We're just going to watch this
Physics,
for a
the
bit.
universe is scale invariant. Stuff that you can do on the small level, small scale, you can also do on the large scale.
This is courtesy of Redacted, by the way. I do believe I have the link down in the description if you want to watch the whole video. I do recommend doing that, but let's just watch this for a bit.
Scale. Those orbs that you see there, they are mimicking atoms. It looks like an atom. It's a positively charged plasma center with electrons that you can see as green as a shell around it. You can even see the shell of the electrons move fluidly when they start to spin around the plane because of the magnetic field they're producing around the plane. It's just wild when you look at it and you can see all of that detail from that. So what I was hoping today is to, and I've seen you talk to Tucker Carlson, some people that are really prominent and connected. And I want to help because you're saying all the right stuff to get all the lingo and arm you with all the tools that you need to help explain to the general masses and to these people who are connected, like what's really going on here from the scientific perspective and from a suppression perspective and national security as well.
Please. So let's get into it. So, I mean, I think what you just said is amazing. The nuclear weapons are obsolete. Nuclear weapons are obsolete, that we have the ability to manipulate time and space.
Okay, that I missed that part. That is good news. And I've heard, people are saying that there is no such thing as nukes. That's something else that they're just scaring us with, the whole nuke thing. So, you know what I mean?
Well, as he gets in, we got to watch the whole video here because he starts talking about the other stuff, which would literally render these nukes inoperable.
Yeah, well, there you go. So talk about disclosure right now, guys. This is so freaking exciting. Like, I can hardly contain myself here. Like, you know what I mean? Like this, yeah. The only reason that we haven't had this before is because I don't think people understood the technology. Well, they don't. Most people don't, but yeah.
Yeah,
but
most people don't. But I mean, even the scientists didn't understand it.
Well, I know, but the way that this guy explains it, even I understand it. So it's
exactly. He's great at explaining it.
It's so easy, yet So continue watching here, guys.
Those are the weapons that's why no one wants to touch us, because we have things that are far more powerful. And I think you would agree that these technologies have come from UFO crash retrieval programs, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Well, I think there's a lot of options. I'm open-minded, and I've now grown to have a viewpoint of anything is possible under the right conditions. So does it come from aliens? Does it come from things that we dug up? Does it come from future humans or another dimension? I don't know if we have enough evidence to say for sure at the moment. I will say I'm pretty confident there's a psychological operation going on to get us to be convinced that humans can't understand this, that it's alien technology. It's alien physics that humans can't possibly understand. And that way, if we're doing black operations, covert operations, which is what the MH370 videos show, we can blame it on aliens. Oh, it was aliens zapped the plane away. No, aliens aren't zapping the plane away. That's us. That's what humans do. So I think that they're trying to get us to avoid that. And it's very important to realize that there is no alien physics. Anything that aliens can understand anywhere in this universe, that's physics that we can understand. We are simply missing something that's probably right in front of us when it comes to how these UFOs we see flying in the sky are moving around. And absolutely anyone out there, UFOs are real. There are things flying around that people do not understand. It doesn't necessarily mean it's aliens, though. Here's the secret. After I dug into it as an investigator, the answer to the question of how this is all possible is negative energy. And you go, wait, Ashton, all the academics are saying that negative energy is this non-existent exotic substance. Yeah. Why are they saying that? Because it's not. It's a conceptual misunderstanding. And then, boom, the whole universe opens up to us. Tesla technology is possible.
Yeah, let's break it down for the layperson, and if we want to get this out to the masses. So, like in my conversations with Tucker and others about this, trying to kind of break through maybe the psychological operation that's out there and lay it bare for everybody. Negative energy. What is it, and how could it be used in all of these applications?
Exactly. So there's something called the vacuum catastrophe, which is that we look up in the sky and we measure the cosmic microwave background. We're measuring all the heat that we can see in the sky. And we say that that's all the energy that's out there in the universe. And it comes to this relatively small amount of energy. But then quantum mechanics came around. Wheeler and Feynman came into play. And Schwinger and Feynman won the Nobel Prize for quantum electrodynamics in 1965. John Archibald Wheeler and Richard Feynman said, when you do the math from the quantum perspective on the energy of the universe, it's over 120 orders of magnitude higher than when we measure the cosmic microwave background. Why this discrepancy? Which one is correct? Is there no 0-point energy out there to be tapped into? Or is there a huge ocean of energy that can be tapped into? The difference between this question is the difference between whether or not negative energy exists or not. If you don't think negative energy exists, that it's an exotic substance, then you're somebody that believes that the cosmic microwave background is the answer, that there's no energy to be tapped into. But if you're somebody that understands quantum mechanics, you realize that we're not talking about thermal energy. We're not talking about heat. We're talking about vibrational energy. The 0-point energy, that ocean of energy, it's vibrating all the time on the tiniest possible scales. And that's how we interact with it. That's why Tesla was saying that there's an ether of energy, and that the answer to the universe is energy, frequency, and vibration.
There you go. There's the three right there. And that's what I've been saying as well.
Yep.
You know, and this is what magic is all about.
Well, that's why this guy was so important. I mean, I listened to this and I was just like, wow, you know, because it all points, and again, that's why I wanted to point out Tesla, because it all points back to him when he was struck, and then he figured out that it was the 369, and then the frequency, energy, and vibration. And today, these guys are finally, after what, 100 years, putting them together? I mean, come on, what took you so long? Tesla had to figure, if Tesla would have had a computer back then and some money and some scientists, we'd be flying in spaceships to the moon by now and exploring the universe.
I know. And so
yeah,
those three principles that he just talked about, the vibration, frequency, and energy or whatever, people used to use that for healing. So the old temples before the churches and all that nonsense came in, the old temples, you would go in there when you're playing that organ, like the real organ. The reason why it's called organ is because it heals your organs. Okay, so you would go into these temples, and the vibration, the energy, and the frequency that comes through musical things or different ways can heal the body. But they've suppressed that whole thing. They just built a church and built a whole death cult on top of that, and just forget about all of these natural things that are very easy to do and to keep us healthy and you know what I mean? But they've suppressed all that. But it's coming out now, you see. And so this is very, very exciting. Now he's going to be going into this plane that disappeared. You saw these three things. He's going to explain to us exactly what's happening here. And it's not as, you know, weird as it might look. You know what I mean? And so I hope that you guys are still with us here. Let's continue on, because I think the stuff that he has is very important, and it kind of goes with the whole time travel thing that we're talking about here. So let's continue, Lily.
So what these people need to understand then is, well, what's the thing that we missed? Zero's not the bottom. 0-point energy is quite literally the energy that exists below zero. The energy below the ground state. So zero's not the bottom. That's not zero. It's just the ground state. It's just the equilibrium state. That's us on top of the ocean. We're on top of the ocean floating around. So what's negative energy? Oh, if we tap into that 0-point energy, we pull it out. And what are those orbs doing in that video? This is why it's proof. This is why the zap in the video is absolute proof. The orbs are inducing a negative energy state through a low energy phase transition. The ground state of, imagine just a hydrogen atom. The ground state of the hydrogen atom is shrinking a little bit because they're shrinking the space. Like you look at my screen right here. Let me see if I can make this work. They're shrinking the size of the space itself. And when you do this, everything comes together. Everything gets squished together. And when you do this, it changes the permittivity of the vacuum of that region of space-time, allows for negative energy to be possible because the ground state goes down for every atom that's there. And when that occurs, there's a release of energy. That release of energy is in ultraviolet light. This is why in the whammy video, the satellite video, you see a flash of light come. So we're like, oh, there's light. But when you look in the thermal, it's black. It's cold.
Oh, so no, that's a great point.
Ultraviolet light. Go ahead.
So let's show that. So yeah, this is the one where we see
that's gravitational lensing right there. Go ahead.
Gravitate. So what are we seeing here? So there it disappears.
So that was the frame right beforehand, and then the frame right after this wormhole opens up. By the way, there's only 4 frames of this wormhole, and you can actually
wormhole, portal, sort of, to me, it's sort of the same thing. That's what I meant by portals. Okay, wormholes, portals. This is what's happening. Okay, so things aren't coming from the sky; they're coming from portals. So,
well, if you look really hard, you can see the three things, and then one behind them.
Yeah, you're going to see more of that as we. Yeah, you're going to see more of that and he explains the gravitational thing and everything. It's very fascinating. Let's continue on a little bit here before we
actually see it open and close. You can even see the tail of the plane in the first frame right there. Now, what you're seeing here is you're seeing space-time being contracted. And when it gets contracted, the refractive index, the permittivity of the vacuum, changes. And when that happens, what you see is this effect where the ground state of your atom, of your hydrogen atom, your orbs, goes down. And what this does is it's like a trampoline, like jumping on a little trampoline. It pulls a little bit of energy out. And it doesn't even have to be that much energy, because those balls of plasma are 20 feet wide of condensed charge. They're extremely powerful magnets. So when you jam them together, the closer they get, that force goes up and it amplifies to a degree where then, boom, space-time itself breaks down. Space-time itself breaks down. And magnetic reconnection occurs when the orbs get too close, because these magnetic fields, these orbs, is so powerful. Now, the last thing I want to say on the orbs for you to understand, which is helpful, is that these are orbs of coherent plasma. Meaning that what's happening is the magnetic and electric fields the plasma is producing is what's being used to make it into a sphere. You would say, wait, what? It's actually itself is making the fields that keep it trapped? Yes. So what they figured out is they move the plasma around the right way. The fields will cause the plasma to become an orb that stays coherent in the sky that can float around. And that's called magnetohydrodynamics, MHD. You'll see the acronym all over the place. They're using controlled, powerful magnetic fields to move the plasma around, keep the charge separated, the positive and the negative, so that it acts like a lightning bolt. And then somebody at some point figured out, oh, let's just jam a few of these together, and then boom, we can make things disappear. The last point I want to make is, well, you're saying it's teleportation. It could probably annihilate something as well. But for several reasons, including the phones ringing, the plane being seen later on, and all this weird dance the orbs are doing on the plane, I think it's actual teleportation. So what's happening is the orbs must have an equal number of charge between the 4 orbs. You've got 3 orbs around the plane, and you've got 1 orb somewhere else. So when this plane is being teleported, Delta, don't sue me, and then comes back, the orbs need to cancel out. So let's say you've got 2 of the orbs are positively charged and 2 are negatively charged. When they come together, they're going to equalize and they're going to dissipate. That could be one configuration. The other configuration could be that the 3 orbs next to the plane all add up to 1 negative charge. And then you have 1 positive charge, let's say at Diego Garcia or in the Maldives. And then when the orbs come together, it causes them to slingshot and come together, and then they appear at your new location. That's what these people have figured out. And it's crazy because it's so far beyond our current paradigm to think that not only could we have figured out gravity and have an actual working warp drive and wormhole technology, but to actually use it on an airplane that itself is not equipped. It's not like it's a Starship Enterprise. We used it on an airplane that was flying around in the sky. So this is like, you realize the implications of this right away, as I'm sure you've considered. You know, you could teleport a nuke onto somebody. This is technology that is obsoletes all prior forms of weaponry.
It's amazing.
Yeah, that is a very good point. That's the thing, and this is probably why you know, they don't want everybody to figure this out, because in the wrong hands, you can teleport all kinds of things, right? Not maybe, you know what I mean?
Well,
so-
he gets into it later, like you can only send stuff into the future, and but either way, think about it. If you were gonna you know, they say they launch a missile, you could just teleport it into the future 1,000 years and worry about it then. You know what I'm saying? Teleport it into the sun, teleport it, you know, or transport it into the future, you know, whatever, when, you know, we can just neutralize, we got more technology or something. You get what I'm saying? So
yeah, I can see the attitude.
Either way.
That's kind of what we do here as humans. We put all our garbage on the barge and we just send it out in the ocean and think that it's just gonna, you know, automatically disappear. You know, so that's the kind of shit that we do.
If you could
so
teleport
I guess doing that, you know, let's just send that nuke, you know, 100 years in the future. They'll worry about that later. You know, surprise.
Yeah.
You know, so I certainly hope that we, you know, we haven't done that, but that is something. Now, so when you see these three things going around this plane, like it's explaining as in a magnetic, you know, it's all about, you know, the atoms and blah, blah, blah. I mean, I'm no scientist. I don't know all these things. But when you look at, you know, all of the things that we read, like Dolores Cannon or even, you know, the movies that we're watching or whatever, a portal is always round, right? It's a round thing. So whether it's naturally occurring in nature, like we say with trees or whatever, that can be used as a portal, or you have the big granites or steel or whatever, it's always in a circle. And so inside that circle, you'll have things spinning and spinning and spinning so fast that it actually opens up a wormhole, I guess, or a portal, whatever you want to, and you can enter through. Now you're into a different time. Time travel, okay? Teleportation, I guess, is sort of the same thing. You're teleporting yourself into a different time. Again, time travel, you know. And so we've seen that, and we've kind of grasped that. But here you see it like sort of in the sky, you know, with a plane. I mean, it's, you know, it's so fascinating. And it's also, my channel is kind of got two different kind of content going on here. So whether you're, you know, into magic and the occult and whatever, or you're into science things maybe and whatever, you can see how this is fitting together. Science is the old, magic is the new, or no, science is the new magic or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's the same thing. Yeah. It's just different wordings for it.
Science and magic are the same thing.
Hand in hand. So, yeah, and it kind of gives proof. A lot of proof to it. So, which is exciting as well.
I got a good question for you. Now, this is, I mean, I know we're talking about this plane disappearing. And you were talking about the portal, you know, going around, right?
Yeah.
Now, this is many years into the future here. That let's go back a ways. Back in the 70s and 80s. And now, over Florida and Texas area, you know, commuter planes were flying, and you can look this up. Sometimes the planes would jump time. You've heard of this, where they're flying along, and what should have been a 4-hour flight is now 1 hour, and everybody's clock is not changed, and they're like, how did we get here so fast? We flew into this cloud, this, you know, like a funnel cloud, and it was green. And, you know, I've listened to all the stories. It was a greenish funnel cloud, a storm, and the next thing you know, we're here. How did that happen? Were they experimenting with this stuff for years and years and years? And now that they have better technology, now they have orbs to do it for them.
Yeah, and that
What do you
also
think?
goes back to the question of their Bermuda Triangle. Things have
Yes.
disappeared.
How
We've
many
never seen
planes
them
disappeared
again.
there?
Did they go through something like this and this went into a different time? You know, something like that
Yeah.
was going on there. So yeah, you know, yeah, I think
So,
they have been experimenting.
you know, and
Yeah.
where did most of those experiments happen? They happened over Florida or Texas areas, which is where they do a lot of the science projects. You know, Cape Canaveral, astronauts, Texas with all the Air Force bases and stuff. It really starts to make you wonder if they haven't been trying to perfect this for a long time, and now they said, hey, there's just too many people out there, we got to move it to some island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean or something, and that's why this plane disappeared.
I would think that that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to do it far away from, you know, populated areas. Obviously, if you want to be in secret, that's not the way to do it. You know, so
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, this is so fascinating.
Now here's the next question I have for you. Why would the government, how do I want to put this? Why would the government try to make time travel or these orbs or whatever, and why would they keep up with it if it could have been so pseudoscience comic book stuff? Why? Did you ever ask yourself that question?
I think we're about to find out. I think everything is going to be coming out to the surface here now. We're going to find out why, you know, they did what they did, and you know what I mean. So, yeah.
Well,
I mean,
I'm going to stop you right there for a second, because this has been going on for hundreds of years, and it happens in a natural occurrence. It does. So, if you ever looked up, have you ever heard about Liverpool, England, where they have time slips on a place called Boulder Street? Now, hundreds of people have walked down that street and, had time slips where all of a sudden the lights kind of dim and they see, a scene of an older buildings and people and all kinds of stuff, and then everything goes back to normal. Why is that?
I have heard of that. So yeah, so here this is where you can go as far as saying glitching in the matrix as well. We're seeing all these glitches, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And so this is almost giving more proof that the fact that we are in some kind of simulation here.
It gets better. It's all of those things put together. Now, people have gone out there and researched this. Now, they've researched it because there's a high frequency there coming out of the earth. Also, underground, right there on that street, there is what do you call one of those trains? Those commuter trains, and there's hundreds of miles of electricity wire running under high voltage underneath the street there. And somebody says, hey, figured it out that with the energy and the frequency is causing a vibration, naturally, because it's just been put together there to cause these little time slips like this. Yes. So, if that can happen, and I was the government, I would capitalize on that and say, what can we do? Get our best scientists on this. This is a thing. Tesla said it. He gave us the information. Let's get on it, boys.
So a lot of our structures is founded and built on that. So like all our churches, like the temples, because I started with the temples, they would naturally build them over natural ley lines and where there's energy grids in order to help with the healing process. Then the churches went and built on top of that. And so they know about these things, and they have been using that energy, toward for their own benefit, obviously. Now, I want to go back to a bit of just a little bit on my personal end here.
Before you start that, you pointed out something really good when you said that last bit there about the energies. You know where the highest energy is coming out of on that street is a church.
There you go. That's
believe it or not.
I do believe it, because that's like I said, they built the temples on, you know, intentionally, okay, on top of there, okay, so that you can, you know, use that energy and for healing. That's, you know, that's the thing. Like, we've gone through so many different things here. Anyways, if we want to go back, like, into my own little history here about the white light that I saw when I was 7, I'm not going to go into that whole episode there. But going back and thinking about what was going on, like at night when I was laying there, I would be looking at the wallpaper and I would go into sort of a trance, like, and it was almost like a wah, 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 wah kind of noise. I don't know if it was actual auditory noise or if it was I don't know what it was, you know, and I was just 7 years old. I had no clue what the heck is going on. Now, the only incident other than that was that white light incident. But thinking back to it now, this was an old farmhouse built on top of what would be the king of the hill at the time. Like, we oversaw the whole valley, the whole thing. So prior, like hundreds of years prior to that, if you were going to put up a portal somewhere, or you're going to be doing something, that would be a perfect spot to do it. And I'm thinking now that, you know what, I think the house that I was in was built on top of something. There used to be a portal there of some sort. And somehow I was, you know, sensitive enough that I could feel it. I didn't know what was going on. Why am I having these experiences there and whatnot? And then I had the huge thing, and that must have been something that came through that portal. For, you know, and there was some time lapse and everything else for those of you who have heard my story before. But that's starting to make more and more sense to me now. That's what it was.
I got a question with that. Have you ever looked up if that place was on a ley line, by curiosity?
I have not. No, I haven't. I haven't. But it definitely was a very prominent spot. It would definitely be a good spot for somebody to want to do something like that there. You know, back in the day. You know, I mean, we go back to Dolores Cannon. We were, you know, reading her book, and that's where I lost my other channel over, by the way. And, you know, there was some great information there about what these people were doing, you know, way back in the day. You know, there's portals everywhere. You know, these people knew how to use them. And, you know, so, you know, building that on top of a natural, that's already existing kind of ley line. That makes sense. Right. So, yeah, and I've heard of all the people too say they have portals in their house, and I think that's what it is. You know, we've just built on top of the things. We know that for a fact, right? And so even under that and under that and under that and under that, like, we got so many levels of things, of societies that we've gone through, that's on top of, originally on top of some very powerful ley lines and portals and all kinds of things that they were doing here in prior, you know, times. So but we're almost at this the hour mark now, so we can't really go into everything here, guys. This is kind of just giving you a little bit of a teaser, showing you a little bit of a connection between Trump and time travel. And so to end it here, I want to show a little video that I thought was kind of funny. He's kind of making fun of himself, and he's doing it in a way that I thought was kind of funny, and I think it's maybe it might be a good way to sort of end it here. Let's see if I can. And if you guys have any questions, by all means, put them in there, okay, guys? And
ignoring the real threat, Donald Trump invading time itself. This. I know, it's crazy. A careful examination of texts from over a century ago reveals that Donald might actually be a time traveler. It's mental, and I decided to investigate. It all began when I was researching 19th century literature in my extensive personal library.
Wait. Let's just stop right there.
Okay. Seriously, since when did you have a library?
Oh, come on.
Mate, this is already unbelievable.
Oh, okay, fine. It all began when I was staring at social media for 11 hours straight. Somewhere around hour 9, I stumbled onto a particularly twisted conspiracy theory.
So you might have heard before people joking around about Donald Trump being a time traveler.
Have you heard the theory that the Trumps are time travelers?
Donald Trump and Barron Trump are time travelers.
But that's crazy. Time travel isn't possible.
Shit, I've gone back too far.
I had to look into this. It turns out this theory stems from the work of a 19th century writer, plausibly named Ingersoll Lockwood. He wrote 2 children's novels about a young boy who goes on adventures. The boy's name? Barron Trump. a name somewhat identical to the name of Donald's son, Baron Trump. Okay.
So I'm sure you guys have heard of the literature from the 18-something, right? And which is around the same time as Tesla was doing all his stuff as well, right?
Yeah.
Ingersoll.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you've heard of these. This is for real, guys. These are books, okay? Yeah. If you haven't heard of this, you gotta go and look it up, guys. But this guy's got a. It's only 4-minute video, and I thought it was really good. And I do believe I have a link to it in the description. Okay, so if you want to see it for yourself.
Sure, that is an interesting coincidence, but as it turns out, that's not the only one. You see, the character of Baron comes from a German family.
My father is German, right?
Lives in a castle named after his family.
They're all Nazis too, by the way.
Is guided by an author named Don, who teaches Baron about magical portals found in Russia.
Russia, Russia, Russia.
And also, when he meets people from a different culture, he's worried they're going to eat his dog.
They're eating the dogs.
Okay, now this is all pretty weird. Who is this author, Ingersoll Lockwood, and what else has he written? Well, it turns out he's also written a little novel called The Last President.
Dun, dun, dun. Time will tell, I guess, eh?
Yeah.
Yes, The Last President, a novel from 1896, in which an incredibly contentious election results in protests and riots, and a populist president appoints a man named Pence to his cabinet after promising a clean sweep of these barnacles of the ship of state.
It is time to drain the swamp in Washington, D.C.
Plus, the act of reading made me go further and further right. My mind was blown, as were the minds of the other great thinkers of our generation.
Is this a simulation? Is this real? How will we know? Right. Maybe we'll know from goofy clues like that.
But is it a simulation? Or is the internet right and it's actually time travel? Well, for the Trumps to have access to that kind of technology, someone in their family would have to be some kind of great professor or scientist or engineer.
My uncle was a great professor and scientist and engineer, Dr. John Trump at MIT.
That actually checks out. Dr. John Trump, electrical engineer and inventor, who was once recruited by the FBI to analyze the secret papers of genius inventor Nikola Tesla.
I found it a matter of a bit of a concern.
Yeah, but that's his uncle. What does Donald Trump really know about time?
President-elect Donald Trump was just named by Time as its Person of the Year.
Okay, fine. The Trumps are time travelers who went back to the 1890s and told a writer about their lives. And nothing can disprove it. Not physics, not the statistical probability of coincidence, not the many details I conveniently left out of this story because it didn't fit my narrative. Nothing. Oh, thank God I'm not too late. Sam, you need to move your car. The meter's almost out. Jesus! Also, you're your own grandfather. You'll find out.
Yeah. What do you think, Pricey?
I'd stick to modelling.
Right.
The green jumper was good.
Anyways, yeah, I thought that was kind of funny.
Oh yeah,
he kind of had some good points leading up to the whole book, the whole Baron Trump book. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. I mean, it was a book.
Yeah,
I mean,
in the Baron Trump book, it says Baron Trump is depicted as a precocious, proud of his large brain, and prone to getting himself in the mischief during his travels. Proud of his large brain. Isn't Trump kind of like that? You know, I mean.
Oh, well, he sure has.
This makes me think
about. Yes. And very much a candidate for being a dictator. So I wouldn't be surprised if somehow something's going to happen where there's not going to be another election for some reason.
Okay, and where is this porthole in Russia? It says here, the guided by directions, and this his ancient manuscript, Baron enters a hidden portal in the Russian Arctic and ventures deep underground. What have we been we've been talking about? Greenland, the Arctic, Russians going to Arctic, you know, we got to get the Arctic, we got to get Canada. For why? You know, see, when you start really getting into it, you go, oh, it gets even stranger. That's the whole thing. It gets stranger and stranger.
There's more than one reason why Trump wants, you know, Canada and Greenland and everything. Never mind our resources here. You know, there's a lot of agendas for it. But yeah, I mean, that's been part of the New World Order agenda for a long time. He's just fulfilling it all right now. All that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a reason.
It's amazing. Oh yeah, it's amazing because like Tesla, he was doing his research. I think he got struck by the lightning bolt in 1895, and this guy was writing this stuff from 1890s all the way. 1889 was his first book, and then he wrote The Last President in 1900. So this time frame was really, really important. And that's some of the stuff that really matters. But have we invented this technology in the future, or maybe a different timeline? If anybody knows Art Bell, do you remember ever hear? You know Art Bell, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. Back on a show he had in the early 2000s or whatever. Oh, actually, in 1998, there was a guy named John Titor, and he came on the show. He said he went back to 1975 to get the IBM 5100 computer, so he could go back to the year 2036. That's coming right up, isn't it? And then he had to fix, fix the computers there because they were all going crappy. Or something like that. There was a glitch in the system, and he needed the computer chips from this IBM 5100. And he was with time travel, he says, was invented in 2034. Well, it never comes out to the public until after it's all invented and working really good. So there you go. You can look it up, John Titor. There's a lot of stories about that guy. So.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of things that went on around that time at the end of the 1800s. 1902 is a pivotal year as well, and RKX actually has a lot of information on that. A lot of things happened then. It was definitely a change of the guards of some sort, some kind of reset happening around that time, and we seem to go through that every 140 years or whatever it is. I can't remember what he has it down to the timeline. You can go back every, and
well, don't I always tell you when I'm doing my research and I buy all those old antique books that all the history seems to change right around 1900 or so? The early late 1800s or the early 1900s, the history gets all conformed and uniform, and it gets dumbed down, and and then it just gets standardized, and it pretty much stays the same until now. I mean, it's tweaked a little bit here and there, but mostly from 1900 to now, it's been pretty much uniform. But before that, there's a lot more details in all the history. There's a lot more things they leave out. They just kind of like gloss over it. So it's. But you can notice it once you start reading history. It's real noticeable. Put it that way.
I know I had this statue. So that's the thing. So there is some evidence about Trump time traveling, because that's really the question that we have tonight, isn't it? Has Trump been time traveling? I mean, according to these books, and then there's, and I had it up here, but I guess I must have lost it in all these things I was doing earlier. There's this church. I don't know if I can be able to find it now while we're sitting here. But there is this church in Europe, of course, because this was before sort of America was anything. That has, and it totally looks like Trump. I mean, it's famous for it now. I don't know if I can be able to find it now. It's too late in the show. But if you Google it up, you guys, if you were not aware of any of this stuff, go and Google this stuff up. Go and check out, Trump statues back from the 1800s, and it's on churches. Now, a lot of the stuff has been taken down. Unfortunately, like we were just saying, it seemed to be in a bit of a reset there, late 1800s type of thing. So a lot of buildings were taken down. A lot of our books and history, of course, either got erased or changed, and yeah. And then the pivotal year is 1902, which then was just before my grandparents were born. They were born in 05, 06. They went through the war as a young married couple, having babies right around that time. And I was born, post-war, obviously. And so, I saw it all change. So much changed in their generation, really, between 1920s, where the women cut their hair off. I mean, my grandpa was still upset about that. All the women had long hair, prior to, right? And all of a sudden they got convinced to cut their hair off. And it wasn't just so bad, oh, well, they cut their hair off. Oh, well, just grow back. No. They were also convinced that they had to have their hair washed and set once a week, you see. So now you went from not having to go and pay any money to a hairdresser to having to go once a week. You see, there's a lot of different agendas, and it all comes back to money, really. How can we get more money out of the women? So cutting the hair was one thing, right? Which even in the Bible says is a disgrace, So it was disgracing women, exploiting women, getting them now to have to go and get all these things done to their hair, with all the pin curls and all. You go back to the 20s and see what their fashion was, right? And then you can see kind of how it went, and now we're back to the way it was, just long and naturally. This is the way it is, just this like this, No more of this going to the hairdresser every week, like my grandma and my aunt used to do. So there's that. But then, of course, we have the 60s, where then the feminist movement came in, where they realized that, hey, we could be taxing half the population. So again, women got targeted. Oh no, let's kick them out of the house. So they still got to go home and take care of the house, but now they got to go out to work too. They got to have 2 jobs now, So, but anyways, don't let me get started on all of that. But yeah, there was a lot of changes around that time, and and it kind of explains. So it makes you wonder, like, how does a guy like Trump or whatever these guys, whatever names they have, how is it that they got so rich? Could it have something to do, like, if you could go back in time? I mean, you could go back and manipulate the lottery, the horse racing. I mean, how many things did you?
That's the thing. How do we know we're not being manipulated now? We did the Mandela effect. Maybe this is a part of it all, and we're living in different realities all the time. Here's a good one for you, and kind of goes along with what you're saying, is maybe the people in the future are coming back in the past to change things to make it better in the future in their timeline. Here's a good one for you, and you're going to like this. This was a time travel story that I looked up, and this goes right along with what we're talking about. This guy, Sergei Pimperyenko, he's a Ukrainian, okay? He was born in 1928. He appeared one day on the street, lost, in 2006. And they said, "Who are you?" He had a camera. They developed the film. They locked him up in a room where he couldn't escape. And the next day, he was gone. They looked up the pictures. He was still wearing the same clothes with a camera that was outdated. He said he was from the 1958. He was 20 years old. He was from Kiev. Now they said that he told him who his girlfriend was, and they went and looked her up, and she says, yeah, 50 years ago or whatever it was, he just disappeared one day. He was on the street. He was taking pictures of me, and then we seen this bell-shaped thing in the sky, and the next thing you know, he disappeared. And
then who was interested in the bell-shaped thing?
Yes. Okay. Now, right? What they wouldn't know what a UFO maybe is either. So then it goes on, and she received a letter from him at some point in time that said that he would be back, but he had been transported to the future. Of what time do you think he was put in? I'm going to let you guess. We just talked about it.
I don't know.
2036.
36.
2036. And he was living the
20.
happy life in 2036.
Oh,
So,
okay.
kind of make, and Kiev, he'd sent pictures of Kiev in the future with skyscrapers. And I get to thinking, I'm thinking, well, you know, this kind of puts the puzzle together. If it's true, that means that the Kiev that they have today must have been destroyed and they rebuilt it with skyscrapers. You tell me what you think. I don't know.
Yeah, well, you know that, the whole smart city agenda, right? So they destroy cities, whether it's a fire, war, or whatever, natural disasters, right? And to kind of clear out the old so they can build the new. It doesn't surprise me that that's what's going to happen down there. We got a whole generation now of young men who are gone. I don't know how they're going to recover. And actually, China, I was just listening about China now. They're really getting into trouble here. They have that one kid policy, and they aborted all the kids, got rid of all the girls. Yep. Now you just got a generation of men that have no wives, and so that's not going to work up too well, is it? And so now they got the 3-kid policy apparently. And so they've been messing around with that whole, right? Messing around with that whole population thing, and now they're getting into trouble, believe it or not. And so, that's very interesting.
Yeah. Well, but like I said, when you start listening to these stories, 10 years ago, you listen to that story, it would make no sense. It'd just be another one of these off-the-wall stories. But now when you start putting it together, you're thinking, now it's starting to, the puzzle pieces are starting to come together. The times, the dates, the information, we control space and time, the city, why Kiev? Why not New York?
Why?
Or why not?
You know why? Just because I just kind of basically said it, but we basically now have just women over there. So how easy is it to just go over now to Kiev and convince all these women to whatever? Because there's not all the burly men are gone now; they're all gone. The only men that are left are old or weak or whatever. They even sent their special needs out there, like. You know what I mean? So all you got are women there now. So how easy is that going to be to convince them to do whatever over there? So, they don't have a chance, right? So whatever they're going to do, they're going to do.
They'll be drafting women sooner or later.
Oh, well, that's the whole part of the whole. That's the whole part of the feminist agenda. Welcome to the real world, women. First, you cut your hair off. Then we got the feminist thing going on so we can tax you and work you to death, right? And then now we're going to draft you too because you are strong women, aren't you? Oh, you wish that you weren't back in the day. Now we get the guys to open up doors for us and do everything for us, Don't you wish you were back in the old days?
Back when armies just used to rape and pillage. That's all, I mean.
Yeah, I'm not going to go find that far back.
No, but I'm just saying. But you're right. You're right. They like you just were talking about the hair cutting. You want to be a guy, you cut your hair off, and now it's easier, and you're like, oh, I see, I can do what a guy can do. I need equal pay. I need equal rights. I need equal. Oh my gosh, all the guys are gone. And then all of a sudden, well, there's nobody left to hold the pea shooters to go out and defend the borders. Who's left?
Mm-hmm.
You women are. Get busy.
Yeah. And at the same time, we still got to take care of the family, though, and the household and everything else that needs to be done, So no wonder people are going stir crazy. No wonder people don't want to get married and don't want to do all that because it's just too much work now. It's just not worth it. Unfortunately. But anyways, that's not what this show is all about, guys. This was all about time travel. I hope that you got something out of this. Go and research for yourself about the whole Baron Trump novel. I mean, that is something else. I would go, if you got the money, go and purchase it if you're able to. Read it for yourself and see what they say. Because, I mean, if this is true, then the end of that book might be our future here. because I do believe that, Donald, obviously he's getting old now. He's going to be gone soon, regardless of conspiracy. He's going to be gone soon. And then I do believe that his daughter is going to be front and center, I would say, for a while. And then Barron, once he's got a couple of years under his belt and, got some, a couple of gray hairs coming in, he will be a force to reckon with, I think. I think that's,
then it will be Barron Trump's great adventure, won't it?
Well, that's what I'm saying. So if you can read that book and find out what his adventure is, especially at the end, in latter years, that will basically going to tell you about what's coming. If this is true, if this is you know what I mean? So that might be worth a read right there.
And it's nothing new that a son will take over for, well, we've seen it with the Bushes, George Bush and then his son, George Bush, and it's happened in history before that the father is president, and then later on, after a couple of elections or so, here comes the son up and running. He's made his mark in the world, and here he is.
He definitely has some big shoes. Well, maybe not big shoes to follow, but he definitely has a destiny, if you will. I mean, Melania groomed that boy from day one. No nannies allowed there. She wanted full control over that boy 24/7, so he's been completely groomed for the role that he is about to take on when he gets a little older. So it's going to be very interesting to see. I'm almost going to look it up, that book now, to see if it is available. That might be maybe worth doing a read and discuss on. The Barron Trump book, if we're able to get a PDF. I don't know. Is there going to be any
I don't know. Publication.
I don't know. We'll have to look that up and check that out, because that would definitely be something I would want to read. Some Barron Trump's adventures.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking it up right now. I don't know if it has it, but it says both the 19th century and today, publication dates. Doesn't really say if it's been reprinted or not, but I imagine somebody by now, since it's so famous,
I would think
somebody's reprinted it. Yeah, somebody's reprinted it.
On Amazon.
Oh, you can read it widely online, and reprint editions appeared in 2017 and 18 to satisfy the sudden interest. So you can get both novels. They were digitized, so they should be on the internet somewhere.
Oh, so there you go. So maybe we'll do that. I don't know. You guys let us know if you would be interested in us doing that. Would you come and watch if we did a read and discuss on the Barron Trump adventure book? Leave us a comment down below, guys, of what you think, and also give us some idea. Sorry?
It'd be fun to read a kid's book. But being from the 1800s, it'd be like college level.
I don't know if I'd get into it, to be honest with you. It sounds like something I probably wouldn't get into, to be honest with you. But definitely going to look into it. Y'all, so Morgan's saying, sure. Y'all, yes. Okay. All right. I mean, it's just one of those things that who's going to sit down and read that for, at home when you got a million other things they could be doing, right? But if you're here anyways watching, maybe that's something that we could look into. Yeah, it would be interesting. I'm going to look into it anyway, so we'll think about it. But next week actually is Mother's Day, so happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. Don't forget about your mom. I
got my card for my mother right here. It says, "You've given so much. Oh yes, I love you much, and you did all those kind of good things throughout the years." There you go. So
there you go. Yeah, don't forget about
I have my card ready. Don't forget about your mother.
I have a very, very fitting show for you guys. It's actually pre-recorded over on Karen Holton's channel, and it was all about motherhood and asking me and this other lady, actually, who are also kind of into sort of stuff that I'm into, and how it's like to, be a mystic and a mother, and also how the whole wakening up, as a mother, how did that work out, and that kind of thing. So, come and check it out. It's a good show, and it's all about motherhood and that kind of parenting and whatever, I guess. So that's going to be premiering next Sunday, same time, same channel. So join us in the live chat if you will. might be here, depending on what the kids have planned for me. I don't know. But usually it's a lunch thing, so I'm usually free, but I don't know. So anyways, I covered my bases as far as the show goes. So Robert, you'll get a break, I guess. Hopefully maybe you'll be able to go and visit your mom or something next weekend. But
if I don't visit her, I'll be calling her. She's a little long distance away, but I will definitely call and wish her a happy Mother's Day.
Yeah, do that, because you never know when how much how long our mums are going to be around for. You know what I mean? That goes for everybody, but so make the effort while you can. That's always advisable. But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed this show. Leave us some feedback down below. I love to hear back from you guys. Leave us some questions, or you can email us. All the links and all our links and everything else is in the description of the video. Okay, guys, and then stay tuned for 2 weeks from now. I haven't even decided what I'm going to do, but I'll keep you guys in the loop. Just follow me on social media. You'll probably see some things there about what's coming up. And yeah, you got the last word here, Robert. What do you got coming up this week?
Join me on Tuesday night. Me and David Null will be doing Native American myths and legends. So with that, remember to be at a frequency you want to receive, because hey, it's all about what? Frequency, energy, and vibration. Gotta love it.
That's right. And that's what magic is all about. That's what we're doing when we're doing that stuff. That's what we're doing, and manipulating those things to our advantage. So turns out that's not something new. So this has been, there's a lot of things that isn't new that's coming out now, I think. And so very, very exciting times to be alive, for sure. So
you know what amazed me about all this study and read and everything? Now, I put a lot of study into this time travel with Tesla and everything like that. And what amazed me the most is this was over 100 years ago. He had figured all of this out. We didn't even have airplanes, and he was designing airplanes that could fly on this electricity. He was designing time, space, wonder weapons and all of this stuff. And like the guy at the White House says, hey, we've been holding things back.
They have.
So welcome to the future.
I know they told you so, because I've been saying this for a while. So there you go.
You know what? Maybe you should get a shirt that says "I told you so," and then write your quote underneath it, because you did. You have. I could go back and
so many told you so's though. I stopped counting them now, because it's like all the freaking time. I get tired of being right, So
you are the great one. You are you are so wise.
I know, right? Might be onto something. So stay tuned, everybody. Make sure
you subscribe.
Everybody,
go
hit the like, share this.
Go
get some merch. That's right. Let's see if I got a merch link for you. I do too. Go and check out the merch store.
I got mine. Woohoo!
That's right. We do not consent. That's right, to all the BS that's going on, the lies and everything else. So, get your slogan out there, and I guess we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, everybody.
Bye.